Angie Dickinson, 93, has held a secret for almost 70 years. Her reason for leaving him in 1964 was never revealed, even when he paid her medical fees, gave her movie jobs, or invited her to his wedding. Something changed last month. She eventually stated something no one expected. Her next revelation regarding their 10-year romance startled. Her father ran a small newspaper and was a movie projectionist. Angie Dickinson was born on September 30, 1931, in Combe, North Dakota, a town of less than 500 people. Her family barely survived the Great Depression. It was free to see movies, but the money was never enough. Her father became alcoholic and they moved to Burbank, California, in 1942. Angie was age 11. They left everything but the necessities, she said. Angie graduated high school at 15 when her mother became a proofreader. She never forgot her poverty and misery. She aspired to be more than a forgotten town girl. Hunger drove her to beauty pageants. She entered a Miss America preliminary last minute in 1953, borrowed swimsuit. She lost. She placed second, but it nearly destroyed her. The gloss hid horrible facts. Some judges said she may get parts by meeting privately. A producer once trapped her in a dressing room. She fled after fighting him. She considered leaving acting permanently. NBC scouts noticed her in another beauty pageant later that year, changing her fate. But that early experience lingered with her. She kept quiet since back then it was either swallow your pride or go hungry. On that night, everything changed. Frank Sinatra saw her dancing on the Colgate Comedy Hour. His bodyguard took her to his dressing room. They chatted till 4 a.m. This exchange started a decade-long on-and-off romance. Sinatra got her into Hollywood's elite. He lobbied for her Ocean's 11 part and introduced her to the Rat Pack. She stated Frank unlocked doors she didn't know existed, but it cost. Industry peers labeled her Sinatra's girl and denied her talent. That exposure gave her her big break, despite the whispers. Rio Bravo cast her as Feathers in 1959. Director Howard Hawks noticed her in a magazine and thought she was perfect. Hawks secretly sold her contract to Warner Brothers for $50,000 after the picture made her famous. Only Variety informed her. She described it as livestock trading. Warner Brothers forced her into glamour and supporting roles. They had her pose virtually naked for Esquire to promote the murders. Not wanting to, she had no choice. To garner headlines, they faked a romance with co-star John Cassavetes. It all drove her out of the studio by the mid-60s, but her reputation suffered. That didn't stop her troubles. A producer beat and tore her dress in 1954 during a screen test. Since she cried loudly, the staff informed her she was being dramatic instead than helping. Not last time. To gain a role at Universal, she had to take a lingerie test. A Paramount producer informed her she'd be banned for not attending private events. She allied herself with powerful guys to survive. She later revealed their protection was conditional. When Me Too began, she spoke out. Silence wasn't consent, she said. She named a living abuser in 2025. That rocked Hollywood. Her Rio Bravo role made her famous, but the pressure nearly broke her. She was 27 and starred opposite John Wayne, the world's biggest celebrity, as an older figure. She said Howard Hawks rarely directed. He told her to be herself. It seemed easy, but having legends like Wayne in the room was intimidating. The dramatic sequence where she had to slap Wayne's character required 12 takes. Hawks demanded more passion. She felt out of place in Tucson's 100-degree temperatures. The studio presented it as proof of her toughness and professionalism. Working with John Wayne was difficult. Age and power gaps were obvious. He was 51. She was 27. Her casting was first rejected by the studio. She appeared too modern. Wayne hardly spoke on set. He disliked actors overthinking. When she questioned a line, Hawks advised her not to outthink the Duke. Wayne's image was jealously protected by the studio. His political rants were edited out of interviews while her political opinions were never published. Once in 1959, she stated the man was always right, especially John Wayne. Her movie Red Dress. That wasn't her plan. Costume designer Marjorie Best cut it thigh-high. Angie argued it wasn't period correct, but Hawks didn't care. He said they sold passion and risk. Critics raved about her legs. Her crew insured her legs for $1 million through Lloyd's of London because of the noise. They paid $15,000 annual premiums. Until her 1980 policy cancellation. Years later she said it made her feel like a product. Dean Martin, however, shocked everyone. We thought he'd be intoxicated on set, yet he was ready every day. Despite his difficult divorce, he stayed focused during the session. Angie claimed he remembered every sentence. His character shakes from alcohol withdrawal. 17 attempts. Dean struggled, but he kept going. He broke his comedic stereotype with that role. He made $50,000 with Rio Bravo. He earned $300,000 for Ocean's 11 a year later. Beyond crooning, he showed his versatility. It looked like a victory when Angie received the 1960 Golden Globe for New Star of the Year. Behind the scenes, it meant extra responsibilities. Obie made her attend 17 publicity events. Jack Warner introduced her as our new Marilyn at a reception. The phone started ringing after that triumph, but not always with offers. It was sometimes favors. If she declined, scripting halted. That pressure led her to fire her agent and negotiate a loan. She rejected Dynasty in 1981. She said prizes opened doors, but if you didn't battle for your spot, they closed quickly. Frank Sinatra and Angie Dickinson dated from 1954 to 1964. Not merely dating, they were intimately bonded. Angie later called him her lifelong love. Despite their love, Frank never wanted to marry her. He reasoned. Failed marriages to Nancy Barbado and Ava Gardner still haunted him. He told Angie he wouldn't marry another actress, and she agreed. She stated she didn't want him to ask because she didn't want to say no. His life was loud. Late nights, mob friends, endless tours. She desired realism. Nancy, his previous wife, was sympathetic to Angie and close to Frank. That complicated matters. Angie wanted to avoid harm. By 1964, things escalated. After working together in Ocean's 11, they had gone through a lot. Sinatra wanted to be alone, but she remembered how natural it felt with him. Writing a career comeback, with an Oscar and hits like Come Fly With Me, he didn't want to damage his reputation. Also under strain was Angie. Studios wanted her to remain a sex symbol, and marriage could have hurt that. Sinatra's aides warned him fans might not appreciate him marrying Angie. Many still associate him with Ava Gardner or Marilyn Monroe. Angie later admitted they were close to marrying in 1964, but they didn't. Instead, she married Burt Bacharach the next year, and Sinatra began dating Mia Farrow. Frank stayed after it ended. Without saying anything, he helped her. He got her a prominent role in 1966's The Chase through his connections, was generous. He paid $50,000 for Ava Gardner's medical bills. Angie was impressed by that loyalty. Frank brought Angie Presents and made sure she had top physicians when her daughter Nikki was born prematurely that year at 2.5 pounds. She stated he helped her survive Hollywood, especially during tough times. Frank co-hosted The Tonight Show with her in 1977. She was transformed by Frank. Before they met, she was a promising actress with several credits. But after meeting him on the Colgate Comedy Hour in 1953, he requested she play his wife in Ocean's 11. That changed everything. The Rat Pack's main lady, Rio Bravo and Policewoman, 1974, 1978 were her biggest roles. There were drawbacks. Frank was monitored by the FBI in the 1960s due to her alleged mob affiliations. Studios didn't like it either. They advised her not to discuss their relationship for fear it would overshadow her talent. Their breakup wasn't nasty. Indeed, they remained friends. Frank rarely did that. His breaks with Ava and Mia were messy. Angie kept things toasty. Vacationed together in the 70s. In 1976, she attended his wedding to Barbara Marx. Angie nailed it in 1998. They loved each other without controlling each other. Their bond was strong. Frank encouraged her to act in 1980's The First Deadly Sin after they broke up. She represented him in 1985 IRS issues. A $1992 million charity event was their last public appearance. Policewoman made Angie Dickinson famous from TV. Not a happy ending. From 1974 to 1978, the show made her famous. Still, it nearly broke her. She filmed 21 episodes per season on 16-hour days. No breaks. She got home after 7 p.m. from 5 a.m. and often fainted from tiredness. In 1976, she needed an IV on set. Running, falling, and chasing suspects were her main stunts. After the show, she suffered 3 herniated discs. She needs spine therapy now. Pay was unfair too. Each episode earned her $140,000. Co-star Earl Holliman made $235,000 despite nearly doubling her screen time. She mentioned it. The studio chuckled and said males must feed families. Your pay is lavish. He obtained better residuals. She received 2.5%. He received 6%. Her earnings dropped approximately $48 million. Show content was nasty. Over 100 violent crimes and 47 killings occurred. Several episodes featured rape. Dickinson nightmared. She needed twice-weekly therapy during filming. She sometimes vomited between takes. The studio employed a psychiatrist on set. His monthly cost was $12,000, or $68,000 today. Behind the scenes, things were horrible. She reported harassment 14 times. A film crew member grabbed into her bra. A grip handed around wardrobe nude Polaroids. A cinematographer tried to attack her in a truck, which was horrifying. Only the stunt coordinator saved her. NBC offered her $150,000 as an NDA settlement. They pushed her body. Her contract limited her to 98 pounds. It was 23 pounds beneath her natural weight. She consumed 600 calories daily. She had 12% body fat in 1976. She stopped menstruating and collapsed twice on set. Her garments needed padding to fit. When she resisted, they threatened to replace her with Sybil Shepherd. Burt Bacharach and Angie Dickinson were Hollywood's golden couple. Behind closed doors, their relationship was deteriorating. Angie began discovering discrepancies in the early 1970s. Burt's unexpected disappearances, frigid moods, and feeling perpetually out of reach. Private investigators were engaged. They found something that haunted her for years. Reports revealed a lengthy history. Actress Lee Grant was his partner in 1968. Dusty Springfield followed in 1971. The worst blow. He had an affair with Angie's close friend Polly Bergen in 1973. But much earlier. Angie was pregnant with Nikki in 1966, and Burt was secretly meeting Rita Lucino, Dietrich's old aide. Hotel bills and witnesses corroborated it. In 1975, cops discovered Burt at a Beverly Hills hotel with his future wife Carol Baez Sager, days after Angie had a miscarriage and needed surgery. The final straw. He spent almost $12,000, or $70,000 today, on presents for his mistresses in 1974. Investigators found. Some, like Broadway star Jill O'Hara, got diamond earrings. When Angie viewed the images and invoices, she felt terrible for weeks. Affairs weren't the only treachery. It began with their marriage. Burt's lawyers gave Angie a prenuptial agreement before their Vegas wedding on May 15, 1965. She signed under duress. It guaranteed her $500 a month, or $4,800 today, if they split. His music royalties were not hers. These royalties earned almost $2.3 million by 1981. One song, Raindrops Keep Fallin' on My Head, made $4.2 million by 1980. Her lawyer eventually said he didn't know the tune's value. Burt was worth $18 million when she divorced in 1980. Angie left with $1.2 million, including their Coldwater Canyon home. I signed away a wealth because I trusted him. She revealed years later in an interview. Trust was my first error. With Burt's addiction, their home grew darker. Cocaine use increased after his 1973 picture Lost Horizon failed. Drugs cost him $1,500 a week, or $9,000 today. Overdosed in 1975. Angie found him comatose in his studio. She misled the press about his food poisoning. Far worse was the fact. Dangerous conditions existed by 1977. Dealers visited their home. Angie was threatened by a Hells Angels member after Burt owed $25,000. The same year, their 11-year-old daughter Nikki found cocaine on his piano. Angie locked the studio door. She spent $50,000 on therapy to save him. Burt left after 3 days. Pressure exploded in September 1974. They argued about his involvement with Lost Horizon co-star Marlene Joubert. Burt pushed Angie against a glass table during the dispute. She had arm and back bruises. She skipped the doctor. Although she didn't want the press involved, she notified her policewoman co-star Earl Holliman. He suggested she file charges. He threatened he would reveal her reported liaison with Frank Sinatra if she went public. She said no. Days later, she wore long sleeves to disguise bruises in a TV Guide picture shoot. A crew member recalled hours of makeup. Burt and Angie didn't suffer the most. She was their daughter Nikki. She was hurt by the incessant ranting. A child psychologist informed them in 1970. She clawed her face until it bled at 6 due to sleep terrors. Nikki had a 142 IQ in 1975. In 1983 she was diagnosed with Asperger's, revealing her deeper problems. Nikki fell mute in 1976 after hearing her father say, "I wish you'd never been born." She remained silent for 11 days. She received Wilson Center treatment from 1984 until 1993. Her therapist said she drew horrific pictures of her parents screaming and spewing flames. In 2007, Nikki committed suicide and left a note. Dickinson read it, not Bert. "I couldn't mend what you broke," Nikki wrote. Angie cried on CBS Sunday Morning in 2019. "We ruined her," she whispered. All went well for Angie Dickinson in 1980 until she arrived dressed to kill. The picture was supposed to be a brave thriller, but it became a national scandal. Angie played a sexually charged shower scene murder victim. That scene sparked a nationwide frenzy. Religious factions raged. Catholics publicly condemned. Evangelicals rejected the film. Over 200 Bible Belt theaters refused to screen it. For intending to screen it, some owners received bomb threats. Dickinson was hardest hit. Thousands of death threats poured in. Some said she compromised American principles. Her North Dakota family disowned her. Her embarrassment was reported in newspapers. Angie needed full-time security for 6 months. She felt that her career and even life were threatened. However, Dressed to Kill made $31 million on a $6.5 million budget. The movie worked but cost a lot. The situation was worse behind closed doors. Brian De Palma pushed and manipulated her psyche. He withheld daily footage from her. He ignored her in between takes. No direction, it left her lonely, worried, and wanting acceptance. In the shower, he labeled her old and prudish. He intentionally shook her confidence. He used body doubles without telling her. Youthful woman had her face edited onto them. Her discovery came post-production. He then informed her that she could be replaced at any time, that other actresses waited. He forced her to film emotional moments after 16-hour days. Former crew members said De Palma studied psychological actor manipulation. Angie was mistreated. She was experimented on. After filming she needed therapy, yet years later it was still her favorite role. But the hits continued. Few actresses dared accomplish what she did in the early 80s. She requested equal pay. On Policewoman she led. Her presence dominated the show. However, her male co-stars earned 40% more. She employed Gloria Allred. She threatened NBC lawsuit. It should have been a turning point, but a silent conflict began. Major studios banned her. Warner Brothers, Paramount, MGM. All put her on the tough actress list, say sources. From 1981 to 1985 she lost 47 major roles. In terms of endearment, The Big Chill and Romancing the Stone, studio executives removed her from casting lists. Independent producers were forbidden from touching her. CAA dropped her to safeguard studio relationships. Her salary dropped from $2.3 million to $180,000. The message was plain: say something and you're gone. After publicly apologizing, she was admitted. Not for being wrong but for misunderstanding Hollywood. This humiliation haunted her for life. But what occurred next was worse than any film part or studio rejection. Robert Clayton Thompson obsessed over her policewoman role in 1976. He believed Angie was a cop and they were meant to be together. He started with letters. It grew dark. Over 10 years he broke into her home 7 times. He was found sleeping in her bed wearing her clothes. Consumed her food. He wrote lipstick messages on her bathroom mirror. Threats followed. One package contained a dead rat. She would pay for neglecting true love, the message said. He stalked her to restaurants, her daughter's school, and film sets. She received dozens of images of herself with terrible fantasies on the reverse. He attacked an NBC security guard. He was repeatedly detained with weapons. After involving the FBI, the stalking continued for nearly a decade. Private security cost her $400,000. Relocated 3 times. Used aliases. Thompson continued sending letters from prison following his 1987 arrest. She remained afraid after his 1994 death. She lost trust in everyone. It damaged her relationships for years. Before she could gather her breath, another treachery struck. Harold Weinstein was her manager from 1968. She trusted him completely. From 1983 until 1988 he stole $2.4 million from her. Her name was falsified on paperwork. He transferred her endorsement and residual checks to himself. He even backed his business transactions with her Malibu mansion. While that happened, her accountant, Martin Schwartz, got her to invest $1.8 million in high-yield guaranteed bonds. Ponzi scheme. When it collapsed, she lost everything. Her savings, $800,000 art collection, and $3.2 million mansion. Worse, the IRS taxed her on money she never received. That added $600,000 in interest and penalties. She was 57th, broke, renting an apartment and selling personal possessions to pay court bills. She took whatever acting jobs she could. A complete reset. Angie Dickinson is 93. She lives quietly with her kitties in Beverly Hills. Angie is the sweetest neighbor, says their caregiver. She often sits at the window to enjoy her house's view. Angie is content after her day in the sun. She said she didn't feel her age at 79. Walking and biking around her neighborhood was fun, but she didn't feel sexy anymore. Not because she lost confidence, but because her definition of sexy had altered. She last acted in 2009. The TV movie Mending Fences featured her as a harsh grandmother. That role ended her Hollywood career. She answered retirement questions clearly. She wanted to stop playing grandmothers. She yearned for home. She considered theater or a solo show. At her age, traveling didn't appeal. She stated looking good is hard. She doubted it was worth it. Even now, Angie cares about looking gorgeous. She giggles and feels naked without makeup and stylists.